my district. I know that members, individuals who live in Midtown have reached out to members of the board, and there have been a number of stories, a lot of information out there, but I want to set the record straight on Midtown Park Apartments. It was constructed in the 1960s. It's 6 buildings with 139 units of residential. It's a residential complex of 139 units, which have been historically designated for low and modern income households. And it's located by the border of Gary, Scott, O'Farrell, and Divisadero Streets. It's owned by the City and County of San Francisco under the jurisdiction of the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, and it's currently leased to Mercy Housing. The development has an estimated need of over $40 million in rehabilitation. Today, I want to reiterate my pledge to keep Midtown Apartments an affordable housing complex. And I'm here to assure folks no Midtown residents will be displaced, nor have they been during this process. In the last 2 years, the Mayor's Office of Housing, Mercy Housing, and I have worked to stabilize the complex physical structure to make it safe for residents with funding from the city, including $500,000 this year alone in repairs. And over the past 9 years, the city has provided the Midtown complex with over $4.5 million in much-needed capital funds from the city's Affordable Housing Fund. My goal has always been to keep the current residents in their homes, to make rent adjustments in a fair and reasonable manner, and to provide enough rental income for Midtown to stabilize the buildings and operations. It's important to keep it affordable and protect affordable housing in my district and throughout the city. Sadly, in a city where many of our residents are paying 50% or higher of their income on housing, paying 30% is the standard in the affordable housing structure in San Francisco and is regulated by the federal government through HUD. It's important to know that the Midtown complex suffers from over 40 years of deferred maintenance caused by insufficient rental revenue and poor management. The overall income of the project is one of the causes of the building's extreme disrepair. Without restructuring the rent, disrepair will grow worse and potentially cause a loss of affordable housing units. Income certification began in March of 2014 and continued until April 17, 2015. Here are some of the findings from Midtown: that there are extremely low-income and low-income households which subsidize higher-income households by paying well over 30% of their income in rent. Higher-income households pay less than 20%, 15%, and even less than 10% of their incomes in rent. So for a breakdown, this is what's happened with those households in Midtown as a result of the work done by the Mayor's Office of Housing. 28 households will see a rent reduction. These households were paying 32 to 88% of their income for rents. Most of these residents were extremely low-income seniors who now have extra money for food and everyday expenses. 2 households will have no change in rent. 49 households will see an increase of under $100 per month for the next 5 years. And to be clear, all increases will happen over a 5-year period. These households range from 12 to 64% of AMI. 21 households will see an increase of $100 to $200 per month, again, over 5 years. 12 households will see an increase of over $200 to $300 per month in the next 5 years. And this is ultimately to get to 30% of their household income. 10 households will see an increase of $400 to $700 per month for over the course of 5 years. And just to be clear, these 10 households, basically their household incomes range anywhere between 100 and 214% of AMI, which typically don't qualify for affordable housing. 7 households are going to market rate because they were either found non-compliant or were unresponsive to income certification. Unfortunately, a few people were taking advantage of affordable housing system at Midtown. We had residents that sublet their units and lived in other cities, actually making money from their units, including putting their units on Airbnb. A resident that owned a house in another city and used Midtown as their second home. I do sympathize with getting a rent increase. That's why I worked with the Mayor's Office of Housing to allow 5 years for everyone to get to 30% of their income, even for residents making well over $100,000 a year. No one will be removed from their unit or be right-sized. Residents can stay in their original unit. Since March, residents have been attending financial planning workshops conducted by Mercy Housing, and the Mayor's Office of Housing will continue to subsidize the development by providing at least $200,000 a year to cover operating costs as we work towards stabilizing the building. As the District 5 supervisor where this property is located, I'm dedicated to protecting our low-income, long-time residents with affordable, safe housing, but everyone has to pay their fair share. I have a meeting scheduled with residents of Midtown and Mercy Housing to discuss any issues. And as I have always said to anyone that lives in Midtown, my door is always open and I'm always happy to meet with them. Colleagues, besides that, I have 2 items to introduce. The first is a planning code change to allow marquee business